Good morning, South Rock. Welcome to another Mark Devo. Today is Mark 2:23 through 28. An interesting story of Jesus and the disciples and the Pharisees making kind of a complaint towards what they were doing. So basically what happens here is Jesus is walking with the disciples and the disciples are hungry. So they pluck a head of grain and just grab a quick snack. And the Pharisees see this and they say, "Why are your disciples breaking the Sabbath? Because it's not lawful to harvest during the Sabbath when they're kind of just grabbing a snack." So Jesus says, don't you remember the story of David? David did the same thing, and he even kind of took it a step further than that. And Jesus ends by saying, the Sabbath wasn't, or man wasn't made for the Sabbath was made for man, which is a good little, not only a good turn of phrase, but a good thing to remember, that we weren't made to recognize the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for us to rest and worship, which kind of segues seamlessly into the questions for today. So the first is, the Pharisees were rigid and they weren't willing to give grace to the disciples and Jesus for needing to eat on the Sabbath and therefore harvesting a snack. And so what situation in your life have you either been given or have gave grace that you were not expecting? Because the Pharisees weren't expecting this kind of this will be forgiven. This isn't a huge deal. Let's be gracious in this because we're hungry. We need to eat, and this is a precedent. So what is a situation where you either gave or received grace that was unexpected? And then the second question comes from this idea of, man wasn't made for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for man. When was the last time you Sabbathed? When was the last time you did this? So Sabbath was a day of rest. It was against the law in the Torah, the Old Testament, to harvest, to basically walk a certain distance, to do a certain amount of things. You were to rest, do nothing, and worship on that day. And so I guess the question for you is, when was the last time you took a day to relax, to do nothing, and then you actually spent time in the Word and worship, or something like that, a day of Sabbath, a day of rest and worship? It might have been recently because of coronavirus, but I'm guessing it's not, because we don't really think of Sabbath as a thing that we do as Christians. It's a very Jewish idea, right? Jews have a Sabbath. We don't think of it like that, but I think it's still important. It's still something that I think God was saying, no, you can work 6 days, but that seventh day, you need to take one for yourself and you need to take one for me. And so the Sabbath was made for us to do that. So when was the last time you Sabbathed? And if you can't remember a time, you can say never. Maybe think about finding a day of Sabbath, a day of rest and worship. So I hope you have a good rest of your day.